gonna be right back.
Follow him.
Strategically asking, can you freaking fix this out?
Hey Riley, can you grab Casey's white hard hat there? Right there.
Okay.
I was just kidding. We don't really need the hard hat.
Turkeys.
It was taking too long for you to notice.
Casey Gray here from the Conscious Builder, and this is episode 6 of the 3-day cottage. If you missed the last episode, we got into footings, foundation, and started the framing. And on this episode, we're going to continue the framing and get into window installations. Be sure to like below, comment. If you have questions, post those in the comments below as well so other people can find out all this great information on how to build a net zero home or cottage for themselves.
One of the challenges of building a deck on a hill is making sure the exterior posts are in the right location. You want to make sure that they're parallel with the house, that they're nice and plumb, which means that they're straight up and down, and that they are the same distance apart. So this means that you need to get creative on how to brace them. We installed a continuous layer of exterior insulation, which was Rockwool Comfort Board 80 in this case. And this added another additional challenge. Like most exterior insulation boards, it is semi-rigid, so it does have the ability to compress just enough to make things more difficult. For example, when you attach a ledger board or a rain screen, so that means you're screwing wood on the outside of the insulation to the home, you can't just screw things until they are tight. If you do this, you will lose R value because you'll be compressing the insulation, and then when you look down the wall, your wall will be waving at you. It's not that it's impossible to do these things, it just takes time and needs to be accounted for when you're budgeting and scheduling your project.
Timber framing details are a great feature for a home, but they come at a cost. They take a lot of time, they require expensive lumber, you need a specialty trade to do them. And we wanted some of these features, but we didn't want the cost and the time that was associated with them. So we stuck with pressure treated lumber, we stuck with the timber framing fasteners as opposed to the fancy joints like mortise and tenon, for example, and making sure that we have everything fabricated in the shop, because that's what happens with timber framing. You fabricate everything off site and you bring it and you assemble it on site. So that's where the timing and the costs come into play. For the supports and for fastening the posts and the angle braces, we just use timber framing screws that the engineer had spec'd for us.
Well, we'll make that happen on our side. Okay, this case.
Can I grab an end as well, or you guys got it?
We need to keep the budget low on the windows as well, so we stuck with the typical casement PVC window, but went with the triple glazed option. And we went with a local manufacturer because we knew we could get them at a good price, and we knew that we could get them fairly quickly. Now, Stefan from Homesol is going to talk about some of the specs on windows and what's important. And one of the things that he gets into is the solar heat gain coefficient, which is extremely important. In this case, we need to keep in mind that on the south side of this cottage, they had a lot of trees that were fairly close. So they would have nice shading in the summer months, but then when the leaves fall off those trees, they'll have more sunlight coming in the winter months.
The lower the better for summertime comfort, because it's in these high performance buildings, and not even high performance, even building code. If you have a high SHGC of, I would say, 0.3 or higher is considered high. That means that more sun or more heat is getting through those windows, and that can cause overheating in the summertimes. In high performance homes, that can cause overheating in the shoulder seasons, which you might think is great, but it's an unintended consequence. It does have the penalty of a little bit less heat coming through in the wintertime, but the summertime comfort is more than offsets that little penalty.
Windows and doors are one of those things that can really blow the budget in a project. We've done projects where we've gotten costs from $60,000 to $120,000 for higher performing windows, and we can do a lot less than that, obviously. But I've also seen doors, one single door that costs $20,000, because everybody wants grand openings, everybody wants big sliding doors, everybody wants the nature to come inside, and they don't realize what the cost of making that happen is. So those are some of the tough decisions that need to be made a lot of the time throughout the design process when you get into custom projects like this. In this case, like I said, we kept it low. The overall percentage of windows and doors for our part of the contract was 6.5%. If you add up everything, because we only brought it to the closed-in stage, it's going to be a lot less than that, which is a very reasonable price for a window that performs really well and still gets us the standards that we need. Installation on these windows were fairly simple as long as you've done it before. Now, the way that they do it for this particular window is you actually screw through the frame, put a screw through that, through the shim, into the window framing itself. Before you do that, you would have flashing along the bottom sill, and then once the window's in, you spray foam all around it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of screwing through the window, but it is the way that the manufacturer recommends it, so we have to do that in order to maintain the warranty for these windows. Now, all this talk about windows and doors, we actually made a mistake on one of the windows. There is a window that goes above the countertop in the kitchen, which is going to be like a backsplash window, which is really nice. And it was broken into 3. And on the plans and on the quotes, it was shown as fixed. All 3 windows were fixed. And when I got the window, I went to put it in. I'm like, oh, that's strange that these are fixed. I checked out all the details. I'm like, oh, it is fixed. And Kim saw it. It's not what she was expecting.
We ended up with a kitchen window that actually didn't have any working windows that opened by accident. So we had to order a new window with operable windows.
The good news is that we found another place to put that window so we can make use of it. And then Kim was actually able to redesign the window, a new window for that opening that actually worked better for what she was hoping for. Kim also made me an amazing gift, and she tricked me on like having to move a piece of furniture for her.
Aren't you going to take that off?
I didn't know if I was supposed to.
Oh, it's the wrong way.
That is sweet.
She took this old cabinet and made it look like the bus. She did an amazing job. And the most interesting part about it that I liked is inside of it, it was all a map inside the drawer, inside the doors. And she marked out where we helped her build her dream cottage. As soon as I brought that cabinet home, my son wanted it in his room. So that cabinet is in my son's room with all of his prized possessions on top of it. Glad you tuned in to episode 6 here of the 3-Day Cottage. On the next episode, we're going to get into insulation with rock wool. If you want to learn more about windows right now, you can check out this video, and remember to live consciously.